Hey, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you see this. This is IyaPatsy, and I'm looking a mess. Yes, I just woke up. Well, not just, but you know. Anyway, I was just, you know, reading, doing my social media on Facebook, and doing my daily harassment of asterisk 45, and I was retweeting something, and one of the tweeters had said that she knows that everybody hates the police right now, but what we need to do is make sure that they can get prosecuted and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, everybody is not hate does not hate all the police right now. We don't all hate all police. Some people may, but I don't think that anybody wants to. Well, I don't think that the leaders or the people who are the spokespeople that I have been viewing um, are asking for the police departments to be defunded. What they're asking for is that more money be directed away from the training that we're given towards other ways of responding to situations, other kinds of training, right? Interpersonal communication skill training, like they give to correction officers. Well, at least the city of New York gives correction officers interpersonal communication skills because officers are working in an environment with at least 30 inmates by themselves, and you have to be able to de escalate situations verbally. Now, of course, we have pepper spray nowadays, but when I first came on the job, that was not available. You just had to use your skills and and how you spoke to them to get them to comply or de-escalate whatever was going on, in the housing area if they were in the middle of a fight and things like that. Very dangerous, but you learn how to, make yourself as safe as you can. Try to make sure that you are, you know, in a safe environment, that you have some kind of protection for yourself, that there's somewhere that you can duck behind or something like that, whatever. Anyway, but the point is, they need to redirect the training towards that, redirect training towards, not training, but put funds towards training mental health professionals to respond to these scenes before the police do. Give them a chance to triage the situation, so to speak, and then if more backup is needed, then they could call for that. So you can call through 311, and 311 would dispatch mental health or child protective services or some type of domestic violence counselors or something like that that can get to a place and provide shelter for someone who needs help with domestic violence or something like that. Other people that can de-escalate a situation besides calling for armed deadly force to arrive. I also I really came on to say this also. I remember a couple of years ago I was speaking to one of the sisters in the Order of the Eastern Stars, and as many of you know, or you may not know, I am a member of the Order of the Eastern Stars, which is also part of the Masonry, Freemasons, right? And what she had said to me, because we were talking about some other police murder of a black person. So many have happened, I can't tell you which one we were discussing. But it may have had something to do with someone calling the police because their family member was acting up or something like that, and it went left. So, anyway, what she had said was that was part of the work that the Masons did in the community. So that if you had a problem with your husband or your son or your brother or somebody, even if they weren't a Mason, you could go to the brothers. You as a woman could go to any of the brothers or tell one of the Eastern Star sisters that you would know, and they could take that information to the brothers, and the brothers in turn would step to that dude and straighten him out. and let him know. And this, she said, this was our own way of policing our own communities, right? Because you have these elders who, could settle disputes, like they do in tribes, right? So, what came to me then and came to me again today is that this, again, ways that we as a community, as a people, through our, just because that's the normal thing that most immigrant, any group of people do, they try to find ways to solve problems within their communities, right? That's why they have, the mafia, so to speak. It's not just about crime, it was also about settling things in their communities. People that you could go to for loans, and they became loan sharks and things like that. That's not good stuff. But what I'm saying is that you did things within your own community to help your own community, right? So, like in the native tribes, they have their tribunals, they have their, elders, and you got a dispute, you take it to the elders make a decision, and you have to live with it, right? So it's about retraining us in the community to be more respectful of our elders and of authority figures. Not saying that anybody has to earn your respect. They don't have to earn nothing. They should be respectful, but if they're an elder, they earn that respect before you even opened your eyes in the world. Remember that. Because sometimes that's the problem too. Because we have a generation of young parents who have taught their children that you gotta give respect to get respect. And that's why you don't have any control over your children. But that's a whole nother discussion. Anyway, but what I'm saying is that if we learn that we need to respect certain members of our community who are elders, right? Who are like they're the supervisors, let's say. We got a beef, we take it to them, and they straighten it out, right? And then we don't have to call the police, all right? If people learn that they got beef, take it out, fisticuffs, if you got to fight and get it out, fine, do that. But in a controlled situation, a controlled setting, give them 5 minutes and that's it. Get your licks in and it's over, all right? Things like that, if somebody does something, then they have to pay a fine, or they have to, restitution or repair or whatever it is that they've done. If we can't find who did it, then we as a community, we take care of it, okay? We help the people file their insurance claims, or we actually get the lumber and the paint or whatever is needed to do to fix this thing without calling in the police, right? Or if we need to make a police report, we go to the station and we give the information to the officers at the precinct rather than having them come to us. That's keeping them in their area. But again, I'm just, going off the top of my head right now. But what I'm saying is that we as a people have been denied so much of what is natural to other communities. Self-autonomy, to know who your people are, to be able to trace your family all the way back to, England or France or Italy or Spain or Ireland or whatever. We don't have that ability. If we do have it, now we got to pay the people who use that information to discriminate against us, give us that information so we can find our roots. Because that's basically what went on, right? The Mormons developed a collection of all the census records and all the other information they could to make sure that nobody that joined their organization had any black blood in them. And then once they decided in the 1980s, I think, or 1970s, to stop discriminating and allow black people to join the Latter-day Saints, then they were like, well, now we got all this stuff, what are we going to do with it? Oh, we could selling it back to the people that they should have never been having to look for it anyway, But they monetize our pain. They always find a way to monetize our pain. They always find a way to separate us from that thing that will protect us. And that's why they've convinced us that using the Orisha and to use our natural gifts our ability to put together herbs and to deal with nature and to, give offerings and whatever, or gratitude, and to take care of our ancestors. All of that was bad stuff. That was all voodoo until they were sick and they needed you to come in the house and work with them and use all of that voodoo that you do and get me and everybody else in the house better. But we're going to tell everybody else that that stuff is bad. That's evil. That's dark. That's of Satan. We're going to show them this Bible and show them the verses that say that this, or we're going to tell them because they can't read anyway. And as long as they can't read, then they can't figure this stuff out. All right. So this is how we have been programmed. And then when we became free, so what, right? And started to build our own communities. Oh, masonry is bad. Masons don't stick together. That's evil. Anything done in the dark is of the devil. All of this other stuff. Pulling stuff out of the same scripture that they pushed on us, and at the same time don't even abide by themselves, truly, right? So it's like telling, how they say your parents will tell you to do one thing, but they do something else. Don't look at what I do. Just listen to what I say. That type of shit. That's what it is, because they think they're our friggin' parents. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, that we need to look at what they have told us was so bad were the things that were put in place to protect us from them, to protect us from one another, to protect us from whatever. So the Masons and the Eastern Stars are bad because the Bible says so. And those are saints, and the Orisha and Legba and Osha and Oya and Oshun and Yemeya, all that. Oh, that's evil. That's bad. That's dark. You're going to go to hell. What's hell? Oh, in this Bible here that you can't read. That will kill you if someone tries to teach you. Matter of fact, we'll kill the white person that tried to teach you how to read. That's how much we don't need you reading. Folks, think about these things. Think about these things. None of us are better than the other. We're all the same. Just humans trying to, human beings in this world, spiritual beings having a human experience. And one set has decided that because you're in that particular body, we're going to take advantage of you and everybody else in that particular shade of body. Come on. It's time to stop this, all right? And it's time for us to take back control of our heritages, take back control of our power, all right? You have the power to change your circumstances right now. I ain't telling you to send me a dollar, a dime. I'm not going to sell you a cloth or none of that, stuff that these people do. I'm telling you to go and sit quietly and meditate and ask your spirit guides, ask your ancestors, ask God, universe, Jesus, whoever, some higher form outside of you, to tell you what are your next steps. Be grateful for the lessons for this life. Be grateful that you are living through a time like this. You're living history, however it turns out. Be grateful that you survived thus far. Thank your ancestors. Honor your ancestors. If you don't want to set up an ancestral altar, fine. But sit down and write down their names. Go through your family Bibles. Ask somebody, the furthest back that you can find, and start finding out about them, or at least where they came from. Something. Or if you can't do nothing else, call out their names, even if it's a nickname. Something that everybody else called them. They'll recognize it. And just tell them thank you. Each one, thank you. Because who you are today is because of who they were. You're surviving because they survived. And their parents, and their parents. So thank you for surviving so that I could be the vessel for change. Thank you for the strength. Thank you for the intelligence. Thank you for the courage. Thank you for the protection. But community police, defunding the police, from what I understand, is not talking about closing the police stations. And if it is, I think that's a little extreme. But we need to find other ways to police our communities. And the police officers that are assigned to our communities should, I'm not saying that they have to live where we live. That's ridiculous. I mean, somebody's doing that kind of work, they get paid a certain amount of money. They have a right to, be comfortable when they go home and that kind of stuff, or, whatever. They shouldn't have to live in this, like the borough, the village, whatever, that they're assigned to, the town, but they should live close by, like in proximity, that type of thing, so that you're familiar with it. But also, you officers and the police, come in to Sunday service, once every 6 months, every 3 months, and get to know the community, and worship with them. If there's churches in your area, invite the school children to come and take tours through the precinct where they live and get to know the officers, and the officers get to know them. There are a lot of little things that can be done so that the community feels comfortable and the police officers begin to feel comfortable. You have officers that are assigned to a beat, that are steady officers, if it's 2 tours or 3 tours, and they become part of the community. They know people, they recognize, and if you're doing something wrong, maybe you can speak to the child or the person rather than, deadly force. If somebody needs to be arrested, they need to be arrested. But it doesn't have to be that the only time you see an officer smile is when they are handcuffing you or talking to each other. Where you don't need to feel like you're in enemy camp when you're the officers either, right? So again, it's got to be a give and take. All of this gang banging and all this other nonsense that goes on in the community, that needs to stop. All right, robbing, stealing, raping, all that stuff, that needs to stop. But again, these are things that need resources put towards them that are not exactly the police officers, training and helping people to refurbish, helping, after school programs to keep people out of trouble. They had those back. They don't have after school programs back in the day. It's ridiculous the way our system is set up. Children have to be at school at 7:40, 8:40 in the morning, but their parents have to be at work at 9. So if the parents and the kids have to, it doesn't make sense. And then the kids get out of school at 3. The parents don't get off of work until 5 or 6 or 7. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? It should be, school should start at a time that gives parents a chance to get their kids off to school safely and make sure that they get there in one piece and they be able to get to their job. And then the kids should get out of school when the parents get off of work. Switch the hours around. We can do all kinds of stuff. Look at what we just did with Corona. Why can't we change the school hours to reflect the work schedule? Why do parents have to work 5 days a week? Why can't they work 4 days a week and be off 3? Maybe that'll help some and give more families more time together. There are lots of things that we could do. all right, as a society, as a community. And we have to start thinking outside of the box. We don't have to work 9 to 5. We can work 4 days a week. We can work 3 days a week. We can work some things from home. These things will help bring the need for police interaction down somewhat, I think. If we just look at it, give it a try. Might not hurt, might help. So, anyway, when they're talking bad about the Eastern Stars and the Masons, remember what I said, all right? And those of you who have Mason lodges in your area, or you know people who are Masons or Eastern Stars, speak to them, talk to them. Maybe it's something that you'll find interesting. I got into the organization, and I was, I guess I was 29, 30 years old, and I've been in it all these years. And they're just as Christian as anybody, you know. They don't even like what I do, you know, with tarot. A lot of them don't, or at least they say they don't, whatever. Just like everybody else. Very Christian organization. But anything that's going to get you as a black person to read and to learn, they don't want you to have access to that. And that is what it's about. Limiting your access to knowledge. Because the more you know, the more you grow, and the more powerful you are as a people. There are other books out there in the world besides the Bible that do reference Jesus, even the Quran, right? But you know, the Torah doesn't talk about Jesus, but there are other books of the Bible that we don't have access to. There are books of the Bible or the Holy Scriptures that women don't have access to. Lots of stuff. What we have is the King James's version of the Bible. So it's King James's version. There were versions out before King James. Think about it. It tells you there, I'm not making it up. It's KJV, King James's version, meaning there must be other versions, folks. And I'm not just talking about translations of King James's version, but there were other versions of the Bible at the time that this was authorized by King James, and for a reason. Google it. Look it up. You'll see. I'm not talking against any religion or anything. I'm just saying. Study yourself so that you'll know the truth. And then speak to your God. Speak to your Creator. Speak to the universe. Whatever it is that you believe in. Wherever you trust your immortal soul. If you do. Or talk to your higher self. And say, what is the truth? Or lead me to the truth. And it's not an easy journey. But if more of us do it, maybe it'll get easier for everybody else. Won't be so much resistance. Anyway, folks, keep up the fight. We've made a lot of inways just in these few days. Well, it hasn't been a few days. It's been centuries. But these peaceful protests have made a big impact. And others have helped even though their intent was to hurt. So we just thank God and continue to be safe, continue to practice social distancing and washing your hands and wearing your mask, right? And I'll be talking to y'all real soon. Love you guys, all right? Peace. Ashe. Namaste.